Okay. Hi, Faust. Welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me back. The first time was wonderful, so I'm sure it's going to be all over again.
Well, I hope so. I think you have a new chair. Last time I don't remember that big comfy chair.
Well, you know what? I had a chair that swiveled, and I think you know me well enough by now. I tend to move around a lot, so I said I'm going to get a nice, comfortable chair that keeps me, seated in one place for you.
Well, it looks heavy enough that you're not going to be moving it around, yeah?
Right? It's just interview strategy.
Well, that's a pretty good strategy. And I think you had the fish the last time.
Yes, I
So
did.
still have your great fish tank there. Okay. Well, nice to see you. Welcome back.
Thanks.
As we were talking about before we got on, when you were here the first time, you were talking about your book, Fix Yourself Handbook, and now you've got Fix Your Anxiety Handbook. What is the basic difference between the two books? Is it chapter? Is it like continuation, or how do they differ?
We use the same design. That was the premise. We're doing a series. This is book number two of seven, and it's the same design as the first book, but the content is different. The first book was what we call the flagship book. It was 36 chapters of all different kinds of problems. The second book focuses specifically on anxiety. I'm trying to get people to the point that they understand what anxiety is, because that's not something that's very clear to many people. And then what we can do to either alleviate it or at least to reduce its impact in our lives.
Are these formatted like self-help books, like I don't want to use the term 12-step, but that type of book where you say, okay, read this first and then you can do this to try to help yourself or feel better? Is it set up like that?
Very similar to that. All
Okay.
my books are set up with a chapter title, and then we get into kind of an explanation of what that particular chapter is about. It might be anger and how it relates to anxiety, for example, and I'll give them all the information. Then I'm going to say, now here are 6 or 7 or 8 steps, whatever. Do these things, and you can start dealing. You can start reducing the impact of whatever that chapter was talking about.
You said before we got on also that the book has really been taking off. What uh, what was your secret? Was it going on a lot of shows like this?
That's certainly part of it. It's one of those things, whether you're acting or doing books or singing or whatever. You create the project and then you go out and you promote it. So the first book we did about I think a little over 200 interviews to promote that, and now we're at about 40 or 50 on this one. And what we're finding, interestingly enough, is that as the second book is now beginning to move, it's actually pulling the first book up with it again. People are buying this, are asking for the second book, and then as we're getting ready to publish it, they went back and they got the flagship book, if you will, and now they're buying that one. So yeah, that's the big strategy, and then lots of articles that we're doing. Magazines are running things that I'm writing. That's nice to see. So we're trying to hit it on as many different fronts as we can.
What is one of the common misconceptions about anxiety? Because we all have anxiety. We all suffer from stress. Some people more than others. And, most people are able to regulate it and control it. Obviously, we see in our society some people can't, and they go out and start shooting people and doing all kinds of terrible things. How do you deal with it? I mean, what is there a basic way people can control it? Give us an example.
It's exactly the right question asked to get us started. The first thing we have to do is understand what it is, and the way I explain that to people is the path that it takes. It's primarily a physical affliction. It's the body, too much nervous energy, and it doesn't know what to do with it. The problem is, then we get emotional about it, and we start to overthink it. Then the mind gets into the picture, and before we know it, we're looking for solutions. We're trying to find out where it all came from. It came from your body. That's the first thing I tell people. Focus on that first. I have never seen anyone who has a balanced, calm, tranquil physical presence and then has anxiety. That's what I try to explain to people. Almost always it has this powerful physical component. So what I teach people to do is, take care of your body first. And people have a tendency to skip the fundamental steps, which are, good sleep, good eating habits, stay away from the accelerants, put a schedule in your life that works. Don't overdo it. And what I just told you are all the things people do when they have anxiety. When I counsel them, that's what I see first. So look at where your life is. So our first step is always to purge before we start putting information and steps to change it in.
I know people that when they get stressed out go running, and then when they come back after their run, they're not stressed out anymore. So I think that fits into your theory there. Yeah,
Absolutely.
take care of the
And
body.
what I tell people, is try not to wait until you have anxiety to go running or exercise or do whatever you do. Put that into your plan every day. Now your body is kind of decompressing on its own every day because that's part of the way you live.
Speaking of plan, on your talking points it says "Make America Whole: Plan Detail." So where did this come from? Tell us a little about this.
Yeah, in both the first book and the second book, I was talking about anxiety and anger and how that manifests itself. And then when the pandemic started, I watched people's anxiety levels go up, and I watched them go up in a fashion that really didn't have to occur. If we would have taken a step back and just worked together, we would have seen that there was a logical way out of this. It has to run its course as a virus, but we had some other things we could have done. And the primary thing we did not do is communicate well. We got angry, we attacked. Our anxiety took over. We were negative. We were talking to ourselves and everyone else in negative fashion. So the Make America Whole plan is nothing more than teaching people to communicate properly. But the plan is, again, it's a long plan. It's going to take some time to establish if we can do it. And that is to get a group of people, 10 people, 15 people who can lead this and push it forward in the nation. And we're going to teach people how to communicate. We're going to have all different types of workshops and maybe some television things and radio spots and whatever it may be. But we have to change the way we communicate. We have to listen more. We have to be willing to hear what the other person's saying. The way we're living right now is if someone says, well, this is my point of view on this, and the other person says, no, I think it's the other way around, we have an adversarial position that does not listen to each other anymore. That's a problem, and it's gotten worse. And that communication gap, if you will, has progressed to enhanced anxiety, into anger, and now into violence. And somewhere along the line, we have to step forward and start making some changes in the way we do this.
Well, our government is the perfect example of that because there seems to be no compromise left within the walls of Congress. And everybody has gone to one extreme to the other. There's no more middle ground. Moderate
And that's
almost seems like a dirty word.
You are right on the mark, and something that I'm talking about when I do the Make America article. When I take that and I run with it, I always say to people, look at where government is now. Look where the president is. It's not that they're not communicating, but what they're doing is they are picking sides. They're actually championing one side over the other, and people see that. And either you decide that person is someone you're going to like or it's not. And we don't get whole again until we are able to say, you know what, I don't agree with you, but maybe you have something to say that I can work with. Maybe I missed something. Maybe what you have, I can add to what I'm doing and makes my plan better. We're not willing to go there. The president of this country doesn't do that. And I don't want to know. I don't want to get on president bashing. I always stay away from that. But he's not doing it. You're right. Congress, the Senate, they're not doing it. They're establishing one side or the other. My publicist now is going out and sending this plan we have to all of the congressmen and senators and governors in the country. He's putting the database together now. We're going to get this out there and say, here what we can do. Do you have to follow what I wrote? No, of course not. But you might at least look at it and say, geez, he's got some ideas here that are going to work. And we have to start You have to start doing something, or this, is a snowball that's going to get bigger and bigger and eventually crush us.
So the Making America Whole plan, is this part of your book or this is separate from your book?
This was actually going to be part of the next book.
Oh,
We were gonna do a book. In the works is a book called the Fix Your Discrimination Handbook. We wanted to go in that direction next, but that may, by the time we publish this one, get that one written, edited, the whole process, it could be next year at this time. And I just thought, let's at least get this out. It's going to be part of what we're writing there. Let's get this out because I think the need for it is here now. Plus, next year we're going to be dealing with election year again.
right.
And I thought, if somewhere along the line, if we keep on doing these presidential elections like we're doing them, I'm just concerned about violence. Gun sales at a time when we have so much awareness about weapons, gun sales are way up. And women are buying more guns, of all things. When you start looking at all the information, you start to realize, this has to happen now. So I want to at least get it out there.
Well, we seem to have a combination of bad things going on in the United States right now. The crime statistics are going way up. We have instant 24-hour news. So we see every mugging, every assault, every robbery on someone's Twitter feed. And I think the paranoia level in this country is extremely high. And when that happens, people go out and buy guns.
What happens when you look at it as in the human way of human development, if you will, when the more we feel threatened, the more angry we get, the more primal we get. So we had a 2-year stretch where the pandemic hit, where we had the Black Lives Matter and where that started from, all of the killing there. We had a presidential election. Pandemic is that we had all these things going on at one time. There was no place to go. People thought, at least, there was no place to go. The nation was dividing. Now we have, coming out of the pandemic, we have Roe versus Wade being overturned. We know that was going to be emotionally just, a powder keg. And we have what's going on with the weapons. Congress and the Senate passing some new legislation there. So once again, we're doing all these things that divide us, and they don't have to. We're going to continue to move forward in this nation. We're going to continue to have information and decisions to be made that it's incongruent. It's not what we all want, but we have to be able to communicate through it.
We've got just a couple minutes left, and you had mentioned that the Fix Your series, is that what you would call the series? The Fix Your series?
The Fix Yourself series, yes.
Fix Yourself series, okay. How many books do you anticipate are going to be? Do you have plan?
7. Right now, 7.
7, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is number 2,
Number
right?
2.
Fix Your Anxiety. Are you going to try to do like one a year?
It looks like that's where it will go. This one will take off, and then we'll go from there. And when I wrote the first book, as you know, first time author, it took me several years. This one I wrote in about 4 months, because now I know how to write like a professional author, if you will. So you had everyone's in place, agents are in place, the copywriters are in place. So you're right, it's going out to the copywriter as you write. So it should be one a year. That's what we're looking at.
Okay, great. Well, it sounds like it's turning into more than just a series. It sounds like this could be a whole brand on its own. You could start doing T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of stuff with this.
That's the plan. Just eat up the rest of my time. All right.
You could be a whole corporation just under this. Yeah. Well, Faust, we got to wind this down. Thanks so much for coming back on. It was nice to see you again.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure sitting down with you. It always is.
Can you give out your website, please?
Sure. Website is my name, FaustRuggiero.com. People can type in the Fix Yourself Empowerment series. They can type in Fix Yourself Handbook, Fix Your Anxiety Handbook. It all gets you there. And as I think I mentioned the first time we did this, everything on the website is dedicated to the plan. Everything I'm writing, everything I'm doing is there. And there's a contact link. So if anyone wants to contact me, by all means, I'll be happy to return the.
Well, again, thanks for coming back on the show, and best of luck. You sounds like you're busy, and I'm happy to hear it.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, Doug. God bless.